Today, I'm going to talk about this new trend of people not vaccinating their kids. This is Monterey, and this is my car rant! Let's start with a little bit of history. So, at some point between the 17th century or 18th century, there was a rural doctor called Edward Jenner. That he was the kind of doctor that people in towns, in the small villages in England, like went to when they have illness. And this is important because it was a very brave guy. So he was concerned about how many people died with smallpox. And he noticed that milking ladies didn't have the smallpox. And that was something that really inspired him. He started studying the habits of these milking ladies, and he discovered that the cows had a different form of a smallpox called cowpox. The ladies have some things on their arms, on their hands, where they were milking the cows. Some like burns or that will just with pus. They will just emitting pus. And he thought that the pus in the hands of these ladies was what was protecting them from getting smallpox. So he did a very bold thing, totally not very ethical for today's standards, but in the end he saved a lot of lives. So he inoculated a poor young lad. He inoculated him with the pus from this from the hands of a milking lady, starting with a very small doses and just hiring up, and then he inoculated the poor lad with smallpox. Suddenly, he only had a very mild version of a smallpox. A vaccine has been created, and I'm getting goosebumps because that is science. That is real science. The guy had a theory. If you just go through the cowpox, you won't suffer, or at least you won't die for smallpox. He tested it in a human subject. Okay, that's complicated. You don't think it was easy for him, because then he had to work against the establishment in London. And many doctors refused to think that a humble rural doctor had discovered the way of not curing but preventing smallpox. But in the end, in 1840, the British government decided that everyone had to be vaccinated, and it was the only treatment legally available. Smallpox killed a lot of people back then, but in 1980, the World Health Organization declared it totally eradicated from the planet Earth. First thing, I don't know where to start. So yesterday, when I was just looking for the poor Edward Jenner, if I'm honest with you, I didn't remember his first name. So I type on Google Jenner, and I didn't find him on the first page. First, it was Bruce Jenner, then Kathleen Jenner, then the two Kardashian kids. Like I don't know the names right now. I get it. I also like keeping up with the Kardashians, but these guys saved thousands, if not millions of lives, and it's not on the first page of Google in the United Kingdom. So, but why? Why is this trend happening? It is happening because there is a tendency in human beings to be morons. Yeah, it's not like that. So easy and clear, morons. It all started with bad science. I will make an episode about how correlation, it doesn't mean causality. But basically in the 90s, there was this doctor that did a study and he linked the raise in autism cases with vaccinations. After that, he also released some data saying that he made a big mistakes and he also committed suicide. But the evil was was already done. And so people started to think that because vaccinations were like a way of controlling people and cause autisms and things like that, where probably the race of autism is linked to other causes, probably even better diagnosis than before. But of course, people who started not vaccinating their kids, the kids won't get sick because everyone else is vaccinated. So when a small percentage of the population is not vaccinated, it's fine. And it seems that the vaccines are not useful at all because all the rest is vaccinated. So all the rest is safe. All the rest, our bodies are able to kill the germs. But what happens? It becomes more trendy and more trendy. And then this small proportion of people becomes like a small but sizable proportion of people. And also, they forgot that we live in a global world. A world with huge immigration fluxes where people can be today in Barcelona, tomorrow in Bogota, and a week later they can be in Beijing. And it is bad because those people, the people who travel, probably are vaccinated, but they can carry on the germ. And they carry on and they arrive to Barcelona, and I'm saying Barcelona on purpose, and they start spreading the germ. And what happens in Barcelona? Because more than 99% of the people is vaccinated, no one noticed the germs until it reaches an unvaccinated guy. And when that happens, there is a big problem. Because many diseases that have a vaccine doesn't have a cure. And they don't, obviously because there is a vaccine, you don't need to invest money in a cure. You want to invest money in things that don't have a vaccine, like cancer or AIDS or I don't know. And there was this small kid in Spain that died because their parents refused to vaccinate him. I don't want to talk about this because I don't think it's a kid's fault. I think it's a parent's fault. But also, I think it's the authorities' fault. Because in the same way I'm forced to wear this while I'm driving, even though if I die, it's only my health. And don't get me wrong, I always wear a seatbelt. But I don't do any harm to anybody if I don't use it. And the authorities force me to wear it. In the same way, the authorities should force people to vaccinate. And this where it's upside down. I mean, these people, our educational system is failing when people think that vaccines are wrong, because then their kids die. And just think about this. And I'm sorry if I'm getting so angry. Think about this. Why there are no anti-vaxxers in the third world countries? You know why? Because their vaccination is a privilege. They rely on the Western countries to send vaccines to get their kids vaccinated. So every parent that is able to get hands on a vaccine uses on their kids, because otherwise they will die. And it's so stupid. And in most countries, vaccination is free. And it's so egoistical. Oh no, my kid doesn't get sick. Of course, because everyone else is vaccinated. Go to Botswana or to Kenya. Huh? And then you put the malaria. And by the way, Edward Jenner didn't want to have a patent on the vaccine because he wanted to save lives. And I'm saying this because Manuel Patarroyo, who invented or discovered the vaccination for malaria, didn't also want to charge royalties. And these people are just taking the piss out of us. Imagine this guy, a small doctor in close to Bristol, in Berkeley. He could be like super rich, and he decided that it was better to save lives. And then the vaccine he invented eradicated the disease. It's no longer on Earth. And because people are morons, actually morons. I don't know. I don't know what goes on in these people's heads. I mean, it's so lame. But I think the government should say at least, well, if you don't vaccine the kid, you will need to pay for any kind of health care he needs or you need. You cannot force someone to get vaccination, but obviously universal health care shouldn't be a thing for them. And then we get surprised about the Brexit vote. And what really makes me angry is these people are throwing away 200 years of science, of tests, even on human beings. The poor guy could die if Jenner was wrong. They're throwing away 200 years of science because they read something on a blog, or because some weirdo in a new age cult has told them so. In which point the education system is failed, is teaching kids, I don't know, to recycle, which is cool, and making a huge effort to distinguish between the different bins, and it's failing to explain what a vaccine is. So it's failing to explain what can save their lives in more than 20 different diseases. Think about it, and you're welcome to share this video as much as you can, or you want. But this time, beware. This is not going to be like the car rant about the filters in Instagram or the earth is flat, and I'm going to have nice answers to your comments. No, these ones are going to be nasty, because these ones are playing with the health of everyone. You understand that? People who don't vaccinate are playing around with other people's health, and that is wrong. That is wrong, because if you carry around one of these viruses or germs, and it is and it starts multiplicating in your body, there can be a mutation that we are not prepared for. So remember, next time you hear about Kathleen Jenner or the Kardashians, the Kendall and Kylie. Yeah, I'm a fan, sorry. Next time you think about Jenner, just think about Edward. And next time I'm going to Bristol, I'm going to visit the Museum of Edward Jenner. And to play, at least to give me my respects, because he was one of the biggest saviors of humanity. And I'm going to try to leave it there with this positive note, thinking of this guy, that it was a humble doctor in rural Britain, and he made a contribution to science that saved millions of lives.